directly lying. It starts by people muffling themselves because there are certain things you can no longer say. Mm-hmm. And you demolish your character, you weaken your character but through sins of omission, and you get weak. And as soon as you're weak, people can manipulate you like mad. And so the way you fight back against totalitarianism is that you tell the truth and you act out the truth, your truth, and you subject yourself to correction from other people, because the truth is a process, right? It's a process of successive approximation. And that's far more powerful than anything else you can do.
It's interesting. I'm curious, do you think people, the average person, is actually starving for truth? Really, I don't mean like human truth of the origins of the universe, although many of us are, but I mean just simple truths about how our politicians operate, how our lives operate, our day-to-day truths, because I find all the time people will email me and say, it's so great what you're doing and free speech and all this stuff. And my response to everybody is, I don't think I'm doing anything that great other than telling the truth the way I see it. I'm trying to use logic and reason to talk to people I find interesting, to learn and expand my knowledge. And that's my quest for truth. And I think people have been so dumbed down that they're almost afraid of finding it because the system has just rewarded idiocy in a way.
Yeah, well, people, it says in the New Testament that man does not live by bread alone. And that's a technical commentary on the utility of the truth. The truth is, you could say, spiritual food. And I use that metaphor purposefully. You live on information. You're a cognitive apparatus. You live on information, and in information you transform information into the tools you use to operate within the world. And if your tools are faulty, then your life will be terrible. If you're fed on a diet of deceit, then you'll be pathological in everything you do, and the world will kick back at you extraordinarily hard. The first thing it'll do is deprive you of any sense of meaning, and then it'll make you bitter, and then it'll make you resentful, and then it'll make you murderous, and then it'll make you genocidal. That's the developmental pathway. And those kids, the people who shoot up the high schools, they've already hit murderous. They're nigh on the way to genocidal. And part of the reason is that a life that's characterized by nothing but deceit has no positive meaning in it, but plenty of suffering, because you can lie to yourself and you can lie to other people, but the probability that you're going to be able to talk yourself out of your terror and pain is zero. And as far as I can tell, truth is the only genuine antidote to suffering, because getting rid of suffering, that isn't going to happen. The only thing you can do is live in a manner that enables you to withstand suffering without becoming corrupt. And that means that you live by the truth, and no matter what. And then there's a coda that goes along with that, which is something that took me decades to understand, is that Kierkegaard talked about this a fair bit when he talked about the leap of faith necessary for true religious belief. Said, telling the truth is it's a gamble on the benevolence of being. So the idea is, well, you tell the truth. You don't manipulate the world to make it give you what you want. You just say what you try to articulate yourself and articulate the manner of your being as clearly and comprehensibly as possible. And then you see what happens. And you decide, this is the act of faith, you decide that no matter what happens, if you tell the truth, that's the best possible outcome. And the thing is that at the bottom of your being, there's always a decision that has to be made about how you're going to interact in the world. Mm-hmm. Because you have free choice, whatever that means, you seem to have it. And so you have to make a decision about how it is that you're going to act in the world. And you act in truth if you can. That's the pathway out of the kind of misery that makes people bitter and far worse than bitter.
Yeah, well, it's incredibly obvious to me that you're living in your truth, and because you're doing that, you're waking up a lot of other people, which is why so many people wanted me to talk to you. So what do you think? This will be the final question. Yeah. What do you think is the best way to, if for all the people that are watching this right now, that understand this, that hear you, that understand the passion, that want to live that way too, how can they get involved in this process? Is it simply just doing?
No, I can tell you. Yeah, I can tell you. All right, so most of your viewers will have watched Pinocchio.
Probably.
There's a scene in Pinocchio where Geppetto wishes on a star, right? And what it means is he lifts up his eyes beyond the horizon to something transcendent, to something ultimate, because that's what a star is. It's part of the eternity of the night sky. And so he lifts his eyes up above his daily concerns and he says, what I want more than anything else is that my creation will become a genuine individual, right? It's a heroic gesture because it's so unlikely. And that catalyzes the puppet's transformation into a real being. And we start as puppets. And so the trick is to get rid of your goddamn strings. And you remember in Pinocchio, he faces a lot of temptations. One is to be a liar. The other is to be a neurotic victim. That's how he ends up in Pleasure Island, where he just about gets sold into the salt mines, turns into a brain jackass and sold to the salt mines because it's run by authoritarians. Well, okay, so what you do is you lift up your eyes and you say, look, I would like being to progress in the best possible manner. And that's best for me, best for my family, best for society, maybe best for the world. Simultaneously, I would like to attain that. Whatever that is, that's what I want. You commit to that. Then you tell the truth. And then you can tell if you're telling the truth. You can tell it physiologically. And so this is something to learn. You watch what you say, and you will find out that some things you say make you come apart. They make you fall apart. And you can feel it. It's physiologically. It's centered in your solar plexus. It's a feeling of chaotic weakness and dissolution. It's a sense of self-betrayal. And then if you tell the truth, that pulls you together and strengthens you. And so you can learn to feel when your words are accurately articulating yourself. And then you practice that. And that makes you into the sort of person that won't be an Auschwitz guard, that won't play ideological games, that won't sacrifice other people to their expediency. And that's what you have to do. And that's really the core idea in Western civilization, is to build yourself into a forthright individual who's capable of telling the truth and capable of bearing the responsibilities of citizenry. And that's what people have to do.
Well, Jordan,